welcome back to Monster Minis. Today I'm going to be working on the crashed escape pod for Star Wars Legion. One of the things I've really liked about Star Wars Legion is the fact that they put out thematic terrain elements for the game. I think it makes the battlefields look really cool. I'm going to drill out the thruster ports here with my drill so that they look a little more realistic. Don't be afraid to get the full-blown power drill out to drill these out. It goes a lot faster. I like using the extra thin cement around anything that's been modified. It just eats up the dust and creates a much cleaner look. I'm going to be using Ammo's one-shot primer in black, thinned down with a little VMS airbrush thinner to prime this a nice dark black. I'm going to prime the whole thing with the airbrush. This terrain piece was a unique opportunity to try a different painting style than I'm accustomed to. I really like to try to paint everything as much as I can with the airbrush. But because the base had really good texture to it, and because this escape pod had lots of really interesting textures, I decided to go ahead and try my hand at dry brushing. I really wanted this escape pod to be on fire when it was on the tabletop so that we could have some LED lighting during any of the Legion games. I'm going to take apart one of these tealight candles and use the flame flicker effect that's already built into this light to accomplish this. A pro tip, if you want to do something like this yourself, go ahead and just buy one of these tea lights rather than take one from your wife's collection and disassemble it. Luckily, these run on a little 3-volt watch battery, which I'm going to repurpose in the project, just in a different battery holder. I'm going to use this nice dark color from Ammo to go in and set a base, a nice dark brown base color for the base, and then I'm going to come back in and highlight it up with dry brushing. This base is really interesting. I really like that it has some stone elements in addition to the sand dune. The escape pod itself is going to get a base coat using Ammo's gray dark base. I elected to assemble the escape pod with the hatch off because it made it a lot easier to run the wires in upcoming steps. I'm going to be using Ammo's Desert Yellow and then highlighting it up further with Ammo's Burnt Cinnamon and finishing it off with the Uniform Sand in subsequent layers with the dry brush. I'm going to be using AK's dry brush for this. Got a little bit on the brush and then tried to unload as much as possible on that paper towel, and then just coming in here and trying to catch all of the high areas with a perpendicular motion to the texture. That way the paint gets deposited on anything that's high and doesn't go down into the recesses. I am going to come back and wash this because it is a crash site. I do want to make it a little dirty, so I end up getting a little bit too much paint and pigment down into the recesses here, but that's fine. The wash is going to correct that. I really liked how the stone picked up the color from the dry brush. It did a really good job really highlighting the edges. I'm going to highlight the stone with the Ammo's Field Gray highlight to come in and push the highlights up another level. I did notice that I started to lose bristles on this brush as I continued. I was probably pressing a little bit too hard in retrospect. And then going to do the final highlight with Ammo Satin White. For the escape pod itself, we're going to use Ammo's Polish Metal from their metal acrylic range, and then highlight that with Ammo's Silver, also for metal acrylic. I left the engine nozzles black because that's where the fire is going to be, and I thought it made a lot of sense to leave that a little sootier. Come in with the silver and pick up all of the raised details, all the piping, and some of the panels. I'm going to be using this battery holder that comes with an integrated switch. I wanted to be able to turn this on and off during games. Also going to be using 30 gauge wire. I drilled a hole in the base of the escape pod off camera, which is where the light will be mounted, but wanted to make sure that the circuit was good before I went ahead and ran the wires. I used hot glue to hold the battery holder into the base. It made it a little bit more stable considering I was going to be in here manipulating the switch. And then also used hot glue to hold the escape pod in place in the terrain piece. I thought it had a better bond considering it was going to be picked up. Now once I had the escape pod in place, I went ahead and ran the wires through the hole in between the engine nozzles and then got the lights soldered on. If I had to do this again, I probably would have used heat shrink on this. I didn't. I just pulled them down through the hole and set the bulb in place. Quick test of the circuit before I seal it up. I gave everything a coat of gloss varnish off camera, and once that was dry, I came in with Ammo's enamel odorless thinner and their enamel-based black wash, and everything got a pretty heavy dose of this black wash. Since this was a crash escape pod that had come in and gone through re-entry, I wanted to make sure that it was a little sooty. So not only was this going to help pick up all of the surface details after the dry brushing, it's also going to help replicate the after effects of re-entry. And after it was on, I went ahead and got a clean brush and with some odorless thinner came in and removed some of the deposits from some of the flat panels in the raised areas where it was just a little bit too much, and tried to give it a more sooty effect. Then I took a little bit of this fiberfill stuffing that you would use in a pillow or a teddy bear and painted that black off camera, and then cut a piece and started to fit it in between the engine bells to number one, hide the light, but number two, make it look a little bit more like smoke. And then once I was happy with that, I came in with Ammo's Ultra Glue and just got a little bit around the fiber fill so that it would hold itself in place and it wouldn't work its way out. And here is the finished model. Thank you so much for watching. I'll see you on the next one.